So I've wanted to be a space scientist ever since I can remember. Even before I knew what the word astronomer was, I knew I wanted to study space. But the reason that I study space now is very different from the reason that I used to study space. In order to understand that, I need to explain why I used to wake up every morning and why I wake up every morning now. So I grew up in a very conservative, fundamental Christian family. Every day of my life was devoted to service to God. The purpose of my life was to realize the kingdom of God on earth, to convert other people to Jesus, and to devote your life to service to the Bible. And I've always been interested in science, as I said, but the science was a vehicle for achieving that goal of fulfilling God's purpose on earth. And that lasted for probably at least the first 20 to 25 years of my life. I continued studying science all the way through middle school, high school. By the time I got to college, I was still very much a Christian, but I was starting to notice that the literal fundamentalist interpretation that I was taught and that my family adhered to, it didn't add up to everything that I was experiencing in the world and learning. Now, this is not a talk about my deconversion story, and I don't think that I lost my faith. I think I outgrew my faith. But for a while, the reason I studied science was certainly because it was a way to serve this grand purpose that God had put in us. Now, I do think that for many scientists, there's an analogy here where there's some grand purpose, some grand question, some big thing that you're really interested in. And that might drive you. That might be what you wake up every morning passionate about, that you need to work on this important problem. And I think that's a completely valid way to live your life. And I think if that's what motivates your science, then please keep doing that. But that's not what happened to me. As I got further through college and into graduate school, and I became more of a liberal Christian and somewhat of an agnostic and now an atheist, I didn't replace that faith in God, that singular purpose in life, with an analogous science problem. Instead, I found a very different way to appreciate life. And it's not at all based around my science, although it's led me to really appreciate my science and make it a very integral part of my life. So today, when I wake up in the morning, it's not because there's an important grand question I need to answer. It's not because I'm trying to bring about the kingdom of God on earth. But in a very simple level, I start to stir in the morning, and my cat jumps up on the bed. And what am I confronted with? Here's what I've learned. I'm confronted with the boundary between myself and my environment. When I'm sleeping there, I don't know, I'm just me. I'm just subsumed in my whole environment. There's nothing that separates me from the world. My cat jumps up on the bed. I am forced to confront that there's an environment out there. It's different from me. There's an object interacting with me. There's a me and there's a not me. And that is philosophically profound in a simple way. I go from my bed, I go to make some tea. And this tea, it comes from Taiwan. So I'm sitting here in Delaware in my office drinking oolong tea from Taiwan. I'm confronted with the fact that my environment extends far beyond my immediate surroundings and in fact encompasses the whole globe as a planet. Now, those are very simple examples, of course. But the point is, what I'm seeking after is not a singular purpose or singular solution, but personal and societal transformation. And so what I have come to learn is that one way that we can strive for transformation is to seek after experiences that confront us with the boundary between our environment and ourselves. And so there's a couple problems that I'm really excited about in science that I think can do this, both for ourselves on a personal level and on a societal level. I study exoplanets. I'm really interested in planetary habitability. And I think about, well, where's our planetary boundaries? We live in countries. We have a technological civilization. There's city lights going out into space. There's radio waves. The boundary of our planet is greater than the physical limit of our exosphere or even the solar system. There are parts of our solar system that are going beyond. So where does our boundary end? Could we look for signs of life elsewhere? Would we see technosignatures of other civilizations that tell us that our boundary does not extend through the whole universe, but in fact there is an other somewhere that we might find? I'm also really inspired by this idea that we might send humans to Mars someday. I think this is an incredibly transformative event that could potentially reshape the way we think about our societies. But these transformative events can happen on small or large scale. So that's really why I study science, and that's my challenge to you. Seek transformative experiences, seek to challenge that boundary between your environment and yourself. Thank you.